This project demonstrates the performance-enhancing effect of ecdysteroids in humans. Thus, our results strongly suggest including ecdysterone as a class S1 anabolic agent. And you think that's all I got? Coach Greg, in today's video, WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, is trying to take down Ecdybuilder. Why do you think that is? Is it because it offers no performance-enhancing benefit? I mean, are they really going to start banning things that don't work? Or could it be that maybe they and we realize that this stuff, it actually works in the real world? And so in order to ban ecdysteroids, what WADA has to do is allow for a urinary threshold because you can actually get ecdysteroids from food. And so imagine you're eating some spinach and then suddenly you're Popeye and you're failing a drug test. They don't want that. And so they're trying to see how much can you actually get from food. And if you get in more than that amount, then you would fail the drug test. And so what they did is they did two separate tests. One using food to see what kind of metabolites are a result of this. And another given the actual ecdysteroids to see what those metabolites are. And so depending on which metabolites are different, they're trying to establish a baseline so that they know if you have these metabolites in your system, then you took ecdysteroids and you're banned, full stop. Defining a urinary threshold for ecdy will become extremely complicated as either acceptable sensitivity or specificity will most probably not be achieved. And so what they previously thought is there's no way they can do it. Even though they don't want to allow it, that they want a drug test for it, it would be too difficult. How could they see the difference between what you get from food and what you're getting from the actual ecdy? But now, with technological advances in science, we're on the verge, the pleximus, the cusp of discovering how to actually see if ecdysteroids are in your system or if they're not. And so in today's video, we're going to be going over the studies, the research based on an expert's opinion on what is it about ecdysteroids that makes them work? Do they actually work? How much do they work? And so we're going to be going some of these human randomized controlled trials, the best studies that you can get. And so after watching this video and learning all the science, you can decide at the end of the video, do ecdysteroids work and should they in fact be banned?
Ecdysteroids were very popular back in the early 2000s, and they were very convincing at the time as it was understood that they had no perceived toxicity, side effects, and did not affect sex hormones.
Obviously, people are looking for the holy grail, the supplement that can work to help them build muscle but would have no negative side effects. And so are ecdysteroids exactly that? Well, it was found that they had no perceived toxicity, side effects, and did not affect sex hormones. AKA, it doesn't shut you down in comparison, SARMs, steroids, and so on. They shut down your body's natural production of testosterone, and that is not what we want. We don't want to have less testosterone produced, but with ecdysteroids, the same amount of testosterone produced. It doesn't boost testosterone levels, but it builds muscle in a different method.
Now, they're highly controversial, and that actually made them more popular.
Obviously, if you're watching this video, you know it's very controversial. People are saying it's the placebo effect. It doesn't actually work. What does the science say? Well, the problem is most of the science comes from across the world. And so in North America, people, they stopped studying it. Well, at least not to the extent that we'd want them to. And so people have basically written it off.
Now, the supplement died off in the West, but continued to thrive in Russia and Central Europe.
But people across the world, they knew better. They kept studying it. And so the studies have been reported. We're going over those right now.
Some of the commonly reported effects are workout enhancement, so transforms workouts by promoting greater power and improved endurance. Better erections, commonly reported effect in addition to spontaneous erections. Muscle hardening effects, so commonly reported to decrease water retention and promote a drier look.
Various ecdysteroids, of which terkestrone is one of them. Remember, there are several different kinds. For example, 20-HE, of course, terkestrone, and others, and they all seem to have a synergistic effect. They all work together to help boost your energy in the gym, to train harder than last time, to have a harder looking physique, and actually to sometimes get harder than last time in the downstairs. And so a similar effect to taking harder than last time. And so for some people, they could actually take terkestrone and it would have very similar effects to taking this, at least in terms of the downstairs.
The nutrient partitioning and pumps, so they possess anti-hyperglycemic glycemic effects after meals, which promotes greater glycogen synthesis, which leads to fuller muscles and better pumps.
And so what he's saying with that, it's a bunch of big words. It's very difficult to understand, but what he means is nutrient partitioning is occurring. More of the food that you're eating is turning to muscle and less of it is turning to fat. And so who wouldn't want that?
Now, positive user feedback, advanced trainees reported enhanced workouts, visible physical improvements within 2 weeks of supplementation.
I noticed it much sooner than that, but what I didn't hear mentioned was that for me, it affects my sleep. The stuff is so powerful, I have to take it in the morning. If I take it later in the day, forget trying to sleep easier than last time. I literally have to take Delta sleep, and even then, I can't sleep as much. And so if you have a difficult time sleeping and you don't want to feel like this, please do not use turkesterone. One thing that I've been doing is I've been taking turkesterone first thing in the morning. I'll take 2 capsules. I tried 3. It was too much. Too much for even Coach Greg. And so the recommended dose is 1 to 2 pills a day. It's not much. In comparison, I was taking 6 pills of ecdy. So my opinion, Turk Builder, much stronger than ecdy. But why not use both? If you're an advanced level trainer, you can leverage the benefits of Turk Builder and Ecdy Builder. And so what I'll do is I'll take this in the morning. I'll take this before going to the gym. That allows me to at least get a somewhat normal amount of sleep, to feel good and not feel overstimulated in the evening. Interested in any of this? Remember, you don't have to buy, but if you're interested, code Greg 15% off. Click the link in the description.
There are some varied effects from each person. Some experience increased hunger. Some report sleep disruption if taken too late in the day.
I had the opposite effect. I was less hungry. And so to me, this means the effects of taking these products can be different for everyone. I get less hungry. My appetite goes down. Perhaps for you, you're more hungry. I know some people taking it, they say they're eating in the middle of the night. They're hungrier. And that to me makes sense. Think of it. If more of the food you're eating is turning to muscle, you're going to crave more calories.
So look at this first study here. Ecdysteroids as non-conventional anabolic agents. Performance enhancement by ecdysterone supplementation in humans. Now the effect at 48 milligrams per day of 20-hydroxyecdysone or 20-HE supplementation led to a 2 kilogram increase in muscle mass, while those not receiving the active drug here showed an average reduction of 0.35 kilograms of muscle mass.
And so in this study, those taking 20-HE, they experience a 2 kilogram muscle growth. That's 4.5 pounds. And compared to the placebo, they actually lost muscle. And so not only did it lead to more muscle growth, it also led to more strength, which makes sense. And so in case you're thinking, oh, it's just placebo, this is in comparison to taking the placebo. 4.7 kilograms, that's about 10 pounds greater increase in strength from taking the Ecdy 20-HE versus taking placebo. And so stop it with the placebo effect. It accounts for the placebo effect.
Now the 12 to 48 milligrams of 20-HE per day led to a 4.7 kilogram greater 1 rep max bench press than placebo.
And in case you're wondering, the amount of milligrams they took is equivalent to taking 1 to 3 capsules of Ecdy. And so imagine, I was taking 6, and that's just Ecdy. We're not even talking about Turk Builder, that's Ecdy Builder alone. And so compared to placebo effect, Ecdy Builder works. And so for those of you saying, oh, it was the placebo effect all along, you really think the tens of thousands of people, that's right, tens of thousands of people taking Ecdy were all wrong? It was just a placebo effect? This study shows differently now, doesn't it?
They've actually listed these compounds as anabolic agents.
And so WADA lists these ingredients as anabolic agents. Anabolic means to build muscle. It's not a stimulant. They don't say, oh, it makes you hyper. It's not caffeine. It's anabolic. Remember, it's not steroids, it's not SARMs, yet they still call it anabolic. Is that not what you want? Do you not want something that helps you to build muscle? That is what this is. And so their conclusion, this project demonstrates the performance-enhancing effect of ecdysteroids in humans. Thus, our results strongly suggest including ecdysterone as a class S1 anabolic agent. And you think that's all I got? You're thinking, Coach Greg, I'm still a doubter. I don't know for sure. That's one study. Just because WADA says it's an anabolic agent, you know, the people in charge of drug testing, just because they think it's performance enhancing, it doesn't mean that it actually is. Well, that's a good point. If I were you, I'd also still be skeptical. I want more proof. Stay tuned. Wait to hear the rest of it.
If we look at the effects on hormonal parameters during the 10-week intervention study, various hormonal changes were observed. However, no change can be excluded or exclusively related to the supplementation of ecdysterone.
In the next study, they took people training harder than last time in the gym. Those who did did not take ecdy, they didn't take it, IGF-1 levels went down, probably from overtraining. But those who took ecdy builder, IGF levels, they went up. And so think of it. What do you want? Do you want lower IGF-1 levels or higher? Remember, IGF-1 is something that people want more of in order to build more muscle. When you take growth hormone, increases IGF-1 levels. And so do you not think that increasing IGF-1 levels can increase your rate of muscle growth?
Possible tendencies and positive effects on IGF-1 could possibly be explained by intensive training. Now, intensive training may negatively affect IGF-1, which could be counteracted by supplementation with ecdysterone.
And so what he's literally saying is that if you do very hard training in the gym, that your IGF-1 levels can go down. And so if you supplement with something like ecdy builder, those IGF-1 levels, rather than going down, they're going to be either stable or they will actually go up.
Now, this next study here, efficacy of a oral 20-hydroxysone Bio 101, a mass receptor activator in adults with severe, a randomized placebo-controlled phase 2 to 3 trial. Now, time to respiratory failure was decreased significantly on ecdysterone, and this compound has been approved as a drug and may not be available for much longer as a supplement.
And so they're literally using ecdy as a potential drug to cure that word we're not allowed to say. Remember when we had that pandemic? Remember that thing? They're using this to potentially aid in trying to solve that problem. And so they've done phase 2/3 clinical trials before it becomes labeled as a drug. Literally says time to respiratory failure was decreased on ecdy. And so essentially the people getting sick and been given ecdy, they actually took longer to reach respiratory failure. And by that means they can't breathe properly. They can't breathe efficiently. They're getting really, really sick. I don't want to say what could happen, but imagine that. Ecdy builder is being studied as a potential drug to solve that problem that starts with a C, ends with a D. Kind of like Cupid, but not Cupid. You get me? This compound has been approved as a drug. Brackets. So I'm very clear. It may not be available for much longer as a supplement.
Now, looking at the mechanism of action,
everyone, including Lade Norton, of course you're going to want a mechanism of action. We all do. Now remember, I'm not a freaking genius. I don't know exactly how these things work, but I am going to watch a video and tell you what they're saying.
Now, the main mechanism of action is the anti-corticotropic effect.
And so there you go. It's due to the anti-corticotropic effect. Does anyone know what that means? Raise your hand out there. I don't see many hands. One of the things it does is it reduces cortisol. So at least we know it does something. Do we know every single thing it does? Well, we need to continue studying this.
Looking at the anti-catabolic effect, 20-hydroxysone or 20-HE group preserved significantly more of their lean muscle mass after 12 weeks in comparison to placebo.
And so if you stop working out 12 weeks later, the people who take it ecdy, they keep more of their muscles. And so it's harder for the body to lose muscle tissue. And so what you keep more of it. So whether you're training 7 days a week, once a week, never, you keep more of that muscle. And so imagine this, you go on vacation for a week, you don't train whatsoever. You keep more of that muscle, so when you start back at the gym, you have a higher starting point and therefore you can continue to build muscle. And so does that make sense? Are you clear now? If you're taking ecdy builder and you're not training, or if you're taking breaks from training, you have a higher starting point because you don't lose as much muscle. Why would you want to lose muscle? I don't. Many people don't train 365 days a year. And so when you're not training, perhaps you're on a deload, whatever. And so you're going to keep more of the muscle. And so throughout the year, you're going to make more gains.
In addition, we can see here the changes in creatine kinase and myoglobin. We can see that Bio 101 lowering effect circulating creatine kinase levels, which could be explained through the MAS receptor activation as orally administered.
And so one of the reasons they know this, that they're not just making this shit up, is because they analyzed creatine kinase. And so when you take ecdy builder, creatine kinase levels, it goes down. The lower this is, the less muscle is being broken down, the less damage you're receiving to the muscles. And so just think of it like this. When you're losing muscle, creatine kinase levels go up. When you're not losing muscle, they're lower. And so when you take ecdy builder, they're lower. Hence, you don't lose as much muscle when taking ecdy builder. Get it?
Now, in a placebo-controlled study, beta-ecdysone or ECD prevented the development of the metabolic syndrome. So the effect was actually reduced body weight by 1.3%, waist circumference reduced by 3.1%, total body fat reduced by 7.6%, and muscle mass increased by 2.9% compared to placebo.
And so by taking 20-HE, just look at the comparison in comparison to placebo. Remember, it's not the placebo effect. We're comparing it to the placebo. And remember, this is compared to placebo. And so if you weren't taking ecdy versus taking ecdy, you built more muscle and burnt off more fat. Who doesn't want that? Told you I spit bars.
This next study here, aspects of sports medicine, the effect of ecdysten, translated from Russian. The effect, lower heart rate in HIIT training, that was very significant.
They experienced a lower heart rate during HIIT training, a decrease in body fat percentage, increased muscle mass by 5% compared to the control group, and they reduced body fat percent measurement by skin fold testing by 4.2 millimeters compared to the control group. And not only that, what about health markers? No negative effects or organ damage were found in the 20-HE group. No negative organ damage. In comparison, imagine taking Anavar, Ostrine, SARMs, steroids. No negative organ damage. And so which seems to be the better decision for you? You're contemplating taking SARMs steroids. You know it can do damage. You know it's going to build muscle. But in comparison, you can take ecdysteroids. I'm not saying they're going to build as much muscle as steroids. Obviously, they're not. But it is very effective without the organ damage.
So ecdysterone, especially terkesterone, are highly counterfeit.
Here's the big problem. You're thinking, this is amazing. All of this is wonderful. Why not just go out and buy it? I mean, I would, after I listened to this, I'm like, of course I want it. Well, of course I already knew this. I was already using myself. I didn't need to be convinced. I already used it, knew it was effective. But here's the problem. Ecdysteroid, and especially terkesterone, highly counterfeit, and so you have to find the right source. Oftentimes, things are labeled as being terkesterone, but they're actually not. And so unless the product's been tested by an independent lab that specializes in herb testing, they have to be a specialist, you can't trust it. How would you know? Remember, the FDA doesn't require to use a mass spectrometer. These people don't know what they're doing. They're doing the best they can, but sometimes the testers, they could get it wrong. And so unless you use quality control testing, of which we've spent 2 years developing this, you don't know what you're getting. Guess what? We tested other companies. We never found any that had the Turk. We're not going to label the ones we tested. We don't want to get sued. But I'm telling you, ours meet the label claims. We've done our due diligence. We've gone above and beyond to ensure for quality control. And so if you want to try Ecdy Builder or Turk Builder, please use code Greg for 15% off. Click the link in the description. Remember, I'm putting my reputation on the line. I'm telling you, I've used the product. I've seen many others use it. I'm telling you it's effective. If you don't believe me, if you believe all the bullshit that people have been saying about me, you believe all the haters, well, I can't convince you. Don't use it. Don't try it. Don't need you to. Very hard to keep it in stock. And so if you don't buy it, it's okay. Don't have enough to sell it anyway.
Many different terkesterone labeled products that actually do not contain any terkesterone in the actual supplement itself. Most of them here we can see Ajuca, Terkestenica, extract 10% terkesterone, 500 milligrams.
But my products, I'm telling you, it is exactly what it says on the label. We've done our due diligence, and so if you buy Turk Builder from someone else, whatever it's called, Turkish, Turk this, Turk that, Turkerone, whatever they call it, it probably doesn't have terkesterone. Not guaranteeing it doesn't. They might, maybe. But I have not sourced the same product as our other competitors. Remember back in the day, for example, myself and Derek and Chris Bumstead, we all got terkesterone from the same manufacturer? Not now. We got ours from Uzbekistan, of all places. My products, HTLT, it is exactly what you want.
Many of these companies that actually synthesize these compounds do not actually contain what they claim on the label.
And so if you scan the QR code on Ecdy Builder, it'll take you to the labs. You can go right there. And if you want to see Turk Builder, it's right on the website. Just go see it for yourself. And so if you want to see the video in detail, be sure to check out Lucas from Boost Your Biology. 57,000 followers. It's not some small channel. Guy knows what he's talking about. Go and give him a follow. Only get from companies with reliable labs, of which we have on the website. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Don't forget to like the video if you in fact liked it. Watch one of those 2 bloops. And of course, for any of the harder than last time supplements, you can click the link in the description. Code Greg, 15% off. And until next time, I am out.